Today's the day for review. I'm actually re-recording this video because when I immediately finished the video. I'm like, I didn't like the way I did that review. I did not like that. So let's talk about it again. The new Blumhouse horror film from, I'll try to pronounce the director's name as best I can here. Where are you? Jaume Colette Sierra, starring Danielle Deadwyler as Ramona Okpokwaseli as the woman in black. Russell Hornsby as the husband, who shows up briefly. And I'm watching Grimm right now with my girlfriend, so it's nice to see him back. Which, by the way, Grimm ended like over a decade ago. He does not look any different. Peyton Jackson as the son, and Estella Cahilla as Annie, as the daughter, and because it's like literally a 5-person cast. And the movie is what you've seen, at least the base premise. A woman who's been in a horrific accident. She's lost her husband. She's trying to recover. She's she's in a bad place mentally, trying to keep everything together. They're on this isolated farm, and this woman in black in a chair is just there. It's just shown up. And, the question is, who is this woman? What does she want? What threat does she pose? So I said that I liked the movie. In fact, I actually very much enjoyed the movie coming out of this my initial screening. And I did a quick review. By the way, that short, largest review I've ever done, or largest amount of views I've ever gotten on a video, short or otherwise. Oh well, on a review anyway. 1,800K plus right now. So thank you, thank you. Fixing my hair real quick. But apparently, a lot of you guys did not like this movie. I had some people say it was a horrible movie. Okay, fair. I saw another person say that was the worst ending ever. Okay, look, I know you just got out of a movie, but you always got to be careful when making statements like that, because look, there are plenty of bad movies out there. There's probably, I could probably name you at least 3 movies off the top of my head that I think have worse endings than this. Off the top of my head, if I'm just thinking a recency bias here, I can tell you right now. What was it? The Lodge, the one where it's the father's a psychiatrist, mom commits suicide, 2 kids are there, and they're screwing with the new girlfriend who's mentally ill. Hate that ending. Absolutely hate that ending. And to be fair, I hate those kids too. So that's one that I absolutely hated the ending on. Craven, hated the ending on, and Madam Web, hated the ending on that. Those are just recent movies. This is far from the worst. This is just maybe not an ending that works for other people. And then someone said modern horror movies are a stain on the genre. Okay. First off, you got to define what you mean by modern. Do you mean within the last 5 years? Or do you mean like the last 10 years or 15 years? For me, modern would be the last 15-ish years. In which case, then you've got Get Out, Heretic, Alien Romulus, and these are just the ones I'm naming right off the top of my head. Alien Romulus, Lights Out, Don't Breathe. Like, look, I think I know what you mean, because I read an article in Vulture about the ending and the trend with modern horror movies to use metaphors and representations for the human condition with horror movie monsters now. And I don't disagree, but you can't lump one film in an entire genre, and you can't lump several films with the entire genre of horror, especially when there have been examples of good ones. Now, you should also note, it's all personal opinion. If you don't like these modern horror movies that have generally come out recently, that's fine, that's whatever. But I'd just be careful using statements like that as an absolute. Because when it comes to movies and art, nothing's an absolute. It's just personal opinion. Now, with that being said, having said on the movie, because you always have your initial thoughts when you get out of a movie, and then you have your slept-on thoughts. Okay, now that I've had time to actually go over the stuff in my head, what do I think now? I'll say this. I do think I still like the movie. I reckon it has a lot more problems, though, now that the wheels have been able to turn. This is also going to be one of the few times I do spoilers in this review. I'll put up my hand when we're ready for spoilers. But I got to be able to talk freely about the ending and who the woman in black is. Now, with that being said, I do think this film does do a couple things well. One, it's isolated. It's first off, it's only made. You can feel it. You can feel the budget on this. It's only made on about 12 million. You can feel the budget. It's not an expensive film, and the little CGI they did, I think worked. Granted, that shadowy effect of her hand, like what's moving over things, that did look a little odd. I'm not gonna lie, but it's isolated. They're on a farm. The only time you're not on the farm is in a flashback. And even though there's this wide space and this house is relatively large, it does feel confined. It does feel claustrophobic. And I think that works to the film's advantage. It does give it a sense of eeriness, a sense of no escape, a sense of hopelessness. I like the woman in black herself. She is a creepy character, and she's played well. She's also cool in like the whole shadow manipulation. Just that end conversation with her and Ramona, I actually like too, despite the fact of what the representation is, and we'll talk about that in the spoilers. I do like that. I do disagree with people thinking that she didn't actually exist and that's all in the mom's head. I do believe she does exist. I do believe she's actually a spectral entity in that world. The reason for that is we see shots in the movie that early on where the woman in black is there, and there's not enough evidence, I think, to suggest that that part of the movie, especially when the son is interacting with the woman in black, is in the mom's head. I don't think there's enough evidence to support that. I'm not saying it's impossible, especially what we learn from the mom later on, but because the mom is shown to not only be depressed, but also be possibly taking like antipsychotics or something like that to help with something she's got going on. She's losing time. She's reliving trauma of like literally having she's hallucinating horrible things like killing her kids and stuff like that. So she's clearly got something else going on, not just trauma. She's got some type of mental illness going on. But I don't think there's enough evidence to suggest that. And I'll talk about we'll talk a little bit more about that in the spoiler section. But I think all the acting is good. I do feel the broken family vibe very strong in this movie. So, like, the son, he's pissed. He's acting a bit like a little shit, but he's got a right to, like, kind of when his mom isn't being upfront about things. The daughter is actually very sweet. Although there is one scene though where the mom snaps at her for just continually not, like, she's trying to practice her like writing, and and she snaps at her because she constantly keeps doing it wrong. And while it's harsh, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of sympathize with the mom in that scene because this kid's like 5 or 6, and I mean, or at the minimum, she's like got to be like 4 or 5 or 6, something like that. And it's right there. All you got to do is literally copy and paste. Do that and do that. And she keeps doing it the other way. And I have to wonder if she has maybe like a learning disability of some kind, which there's no indication in the film she does. Or she's just being a shit to get her mom's attention. Like, kid, okay, seriously, you know your mom's not in a good place right now. Cut her some slack. Like, seriously. When the scares start to really happen, like what scares we have, it is more of a tense atmosphere than a like jump scare horror atmosphere. There's 1 or 2, but it still works. I think it still works. There's some definitely a good couple moments. I actually say that it's more tense and creepy than scary. And while I don't think it's executed well, I don't mind the metaphor they're trying to go with. Now, with that being said, this movie isn't structured very well, particularly near the end, where we get the big reveals. I'm like, wait, this doesn't make it. Look, even from a psychosis standpoint, none of this is making freaking sense. So, it actually, I think, lends more credence to the idea that the spirit is real, because I think what the spirit is also doing is kind of is also screwing with her head to some degree, not just like depression and all that. But yeah, it's structurally not great, and the character of Ramona is sympathetic to a point, but we get to a flashback with her and her husband the night when the accident happened, and we learn about what the conversation was. And it just doesn't paint her in a very likable light. And I don't know what it is with certain actresses in the way that they present themselves, like when they're like, I don't know, it's angry. Like she wasn't necessarily angry. Like it was almost like there was like a look of vile on her. I've seen it with other actresses before. It's just a nasty look they can bring, and which is weird because I got a picture of her. She's a beautiful woman, Danielle Denwell. She's gorgeous, but like when she put that face on, like, man, you're just like a terrible person at the moment. Like mental health or not, like because the whole idea is like she's not happy at the farm, but she wasn't happy in the city. Like, I had a career, I had a job, and he's like, I asked you, I ran this by you, and you said this was okay. You don't get to just change the rules like that. If you didn't want to, I wouldn't have done this if you sorry, little spiders here. Come here. Come away. Get off my jacket. Would you go away, little spider? But anyway, so yeah, he's like, he's not fully saying this. He's more just kind of like stunned by the proclamation. And she's just like, maybe I should just go. I'm like, what? So they never actually specify maybe what beyond the depression is wrong with her. Whatever it is, either the pills are causing hallucinations, like it's a byproduct, or it's causing hallucinations, which means it's either some type of schizophrenia, a bipolar disorder, a possible psychosis of some kind. Either way, like, it's not good. So that leads us into spoilers. Okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're in spoiler territory now. So just so you know, I overall think I like the movie, but I recognize a lot of the flaws in it. We're going to talk more about that in the spoiler section here now. So the reveal of her being some sort of manifestation of her depression and suicidal urges, like every day you prayed for strength. No, you didn't. Today's the day. Like I didn't mind that idea, and I like the idea too. It's like, but my kids, I got to be strong for my kids. And now there's two ways you can interpret her doing the lighter and showing the future to her. This is her depression convincing her they'll be better off without her, like a lot of people who are suicidal do. Or it is the specter literally showing glimpses of the future. So you can interpret that any way you want. And then the whole, it's like, can I say goodbye first? Like, yes, of course you can. And then the end where she's like actually helping her commit suicide. I actually agree with the Vulture article. That seemed way too harsh. That seemed very cruel and cold and bleak and not. It's suicide, but still. And then obviously the penguin doll, and then the ambiguous ending. I'm going to be upfront right now. I'm actually with a lot of people at the very end. I do not like this ending. And it comes from the fact that I think the film is just leaving things too ambiguous. It doesn't need to answer everything, but it needs to answer something. Like, it never does actually truly say what the woman in black is. We're calling her the woman in black because she's in the black. Now, she does say, it's like, I'm that thing lurking in the corner of your mind. So she's supposed to be a representation of depression, but what I basically interpret her as, I didn't interpret her as that initially. I actually interpreted her as the Grim Reaper. I interpreted her as death. Because she's dressed like a Reaper. She is dressed in all black. She has shadow manipulation powers. And death, like, you might think, well, depression lingers in mind. Well, yeah, death is that too. She brings up, yeah, you've been saying you want the strength to just end it and kill yourself. So I think you can interpret that as both ways. I think she's definitely supposed to be designed as a Reaper. Whether or not she is the Reaper, who knows entirely. I prefer the idea that she is in fact the Grim Reaper, and this is just another loss. And honestly, she's probably because she's death, she can be in multiple places at once. She's probably doing this to a bunch of depressed people right now. And that maybe because she took the form of the woman we see in the painting, because this is something that Ramon was familiar with. Maybe that's what death does. She takes the guise of something you're familiar with. There's many interpretations of death that do that. But the question about whether or not she's real, I'll save that for the end because that's the one I really want to talk about. The ending where you don't hear the gunshot. She comes out, lights come back. When the dog came back, I'm like, okay, either this woman is very kind, or, and then we see the reverse lettering. I'm like, ah, okay, no, not good, no good, no bueno, no bueno. Yeah. I'm like, okay, so she probably did in fact take her own life. Okay, why? Ah, God, I don't like. First off, suicide is a touchy subject. I've actually known many people. I've had many friends who have either intentionally or unintentionally done it. I've had friends OD. I've had people hang themselves. Like I've known many people who are victims of depression and suicide, and it is like it's I look, as someone who is occasionally, and most times I'm fine, but once in a blue moon I still have a bout with some depression. It's not always easy. I'm lucky enough to be logical enough. I'm not going to say my willpower is extraordinary, but to have a brain that just works in a way where I can just ride it out until it goes away. I feel lucky that I have the capability of doing that. A lot of people don't. So to end in such a, Oculus kind of did this too, where it's kind of like they died and they go and meet their mom and whatever spiritual realm it is. I'm like, I'm not sure I like endings like that. That's just too bleak, in my opinion. I think the ending could have worked better if maybe, you know what? Okay, you hear the gun, because admittedly, then the lack of gunshot I thought was kind of creative. I think what it could have been better is if you heard the gunshot and the kids come back and are like, Mom, Mom. And then she actually walks out and we reveal she shot the ground. Or she shot at, like, the woman in black could have been sitting there and she finally just, like, the woman in black isn't dead or anything. She's just, where the woman in black was sitting, there's a gunshot and she's like, no, I'm staying with him. Not, I ain't going like that. Like, and then maybe you could have done that ending, and I think it might have worked a little bit better. Maybe. But honestly, yeah, I don't like ambiguous. Like, ambiguous is fine for some things. It's not fine for other things. It's not fine when you're looking for certainty especially in an ending. Some ambiguous endings are fine, like the top in Inception, whether or not it tips over or not. That's fine because it leaves you asking questions. This one, it's not really ambiguous, is it? I mean, it's more than likely she still took her own life. Which leads us down to the last thing. Is the woman in the yard actually a real, like, a spectral entity? Or is she just, like, all in Ramona's head? I think there's more evidence to suggest that it's a mix of both. That she is, in fact, she's either death or a spectral entity of some kind that has latched itself onto her. I'm going with death, personally. That has latched itself onto her, or just heard her cries and has come to help her. Now, because of the unreliable narrator structure of the story from Ramona's point of view, I think there is at least a discussion to be made that maybe the whole movie is in her head. And if the whole movie is, in fact, in her head, then I will say I hate this movie. Good performances aside, some creepy stuff, whatever. If this entire movie, from the moment she wakes up, is in her head, then F this movie, because that's a bullshit end. That'd be a bullshit cop-out entirely. Because, like, the metaphor for mental health then is like, what the hell? Like, that's just too heavy-handed. No. The problem is, though, I actually don't think, for that argument, I actually don't think there's enough evidence to support it. I think there's enough evidence actually to support the idea that I want to say maybe right on the point where the sun's starting to set and she's attacking the house, that's when the majority of stuff is in her head. And when we see her suddenly become the woman in the yard and the woman in black in the attic, this is a combination of her mental illness and the death. Let's just call her death. We'll call her the woman in black, screwing with her, like screwing with her perception of time, all that, and kind of messing with her. because we see enough evidence to suggest that the woman in black is legitimately there, because unless she's hallucinating a conversation with her son and this woman, there's no evidence to suggest, and there's no evidence to really suggest that's happening. So the woman in black is clearly there. Add on to the fact that there's very little, unless you're going to make the argument that the blood in her hands isn't her daughter's, which it is, at least in her hallucinations. And it's the dogs. You can't explain to me how the dog got killed. You can't explain that away without saying that the woman in black did it. Because the only argument you can make is she's pulling that chain and it just comes off, and maybe there she choked the dog out or something, which would make no freaking sense even from this storytelling or structure. So I think it's clear that the woman in black is there. She is something, but she's something that's latched on to this depressed, unstable woman and is exacerbating the situation until she basically just makes her come to realize, I gotta do the deed. So yeah, that's my thoughts. It's probably the movie I'm going to be spending the most time talking about. The other two, I'm probably going to be spending a lot less time because I like them a lot more. The more I'm sitting with this, the more I'm like, okay, did I like it as much as I'm saying I did? But no, I still think I liked it. I did enjoy it. But the longer I sit with it, the more I'm like, I'm recognizing this is not a well-made film. Okay, it's at points a well-made film. At other times, not so much. It's like 50-50, and that's unfortunate. Because with the whole, like, what's going on with her mental health shit in the attic and all that, it's not well explained. If it's supposed to be obvious what's going on, it's not. You can kind of pick pieces of what's going on in there and kind of put it together. But the fact is, if the audience isn't understanding what the hell's going on, you're not doing something right. Anyway, I digress. Overall, I like the film, but it's got problems. It does have a lot of problems. I can't stick my head in the sand on that. But let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.